Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. This is a continuation of that Yale U.S. brass padlock. What I've done is, in a separate jar, I'll show you later, I have been soaking it overnight in vinegar, the brass body and the shackle. In this jar, I've got the key pins and the drivers all in here, and this is some of that brake part cleaner. You can use vinegar. Um, I'm just doing this just for a little bit quicker method because I still got the body and the shackle in the vinegar, and I'm letting them go a little bit longer. I put them in last night before I went to sleep, and it's done a very good job of starting to dull it up a little bit and make it look more like it's taken away the rouge and the shine and the turtle wax or whatever the hell they put on that thing. I'm basically changing his uniform into battle instead of parade. Another good thing is I really like about these Trekmaster folding trays is if you've got little projects like this, it won't keep the key pins in there. It's not completely flat. It won't keep them in there if you jostle them around and stuff, but it will keep them there if you are doing little projects and you don't have a lot of space like I do. You can close that, and then you can know that if you come back later on and you drop this, that you're not going to have to be hunting your pins and your springs all on the carpet like I normally do. But I just shoot a little bit of this in here and I shake it around, and that's really all I'm doing for the key pins. Now, because that is not most push key padlocks that I run into are flat keys, but there are some with warding. They started putting warding in, and that one does have warding. So your best bet is to get some used keys of that type. Now, if you go to buy keys on eBay, a lot of times they can be more expensive than the lock themselves. I don't have any, these are just the flat keys, but I don't have any, a lot of old, vintage keys. Sometimes they use the same pattern and it's a current thing, but sometimes they just, they're antiques. The keys are, the warding, they just stopped using that and stuff like that. So that one's going to present a much bigger problem on making a key for it. But I haven't given up, even to the point where if I have to, I might try bending my own warding in a piece of metal, I mean, I'd hate to have to do that because it's a pain in the butt. However, I don't want it to wind up in my project bag too much. I've got a lot of locks that are like this that need a key or need something, and I are partially disassembled, waiting for something. And yeah, it's going to be fun to do later on in life, when I'm retired. I can get into the project bag or box if I'm bored. But anyway, there you go. Sorry for rambling on. I will show you the other part of what's going on. So in here, I'm recycling this vinegar from another project. It's still useful. That's why it's just all that dark. This did not come from this padlock alone. But see how it's taken a lot of that shine off? So that's pretty good. It's also going to be able to get up into the Bible up in there. Now to clean that particular core out, I've got like a bottle brush, a brass brush. You can use a firearm brush. That one looks like probably a 9mm or a 38 would work on it. But you want to get all this gunk off. You let them sit in there for quite a while. It's not going to hurt it. It does, slightly change the color, but in this case, that's what I wanted. And I'm going to remove that gunk right there. Something I noticed on this is there's screw threads here. So it looks like, I think this is just for the assembly process, for putting the shackle onto there, because this little key pin, I believe, is silver soldered, or it's permanent to the core now. But it looks like that was an option that, maybe if somebody cut the shackle, you could still retain the key bitting and everything else and just replace the shackle. But I don't know. That's just something that I noticed because I was going, what are those threads, man? Is this a threaded something? But no, it's just for the shackle. So yeah, that's what it's done. It's done a lot better job of dulling that thing out. I'm gonna let it sit there for a few more hours, and then I'll clean the rest of it. But that's basically what I do for the cleaning process. Sometimes you don't have to disassemble it. You can throw the whole lock in there, and if it's a tight fitting thing or something like that, or rust or something like this helps to remove it. The only problem is if you get like pot metal, like zinc and all that other stuff, vinegar is a mild acid, and it will start etching. It'll start corroding and eating the metal. So it's best just for like brass padlocks or stainless steel or something that can resist it. All right. And of course this is a wooden handled brass bristle brush. When you're doing like on the core and everything, go with the grain. Don't go up and down like that. In this case, the rotational forces like that. Go with that. You can also take some small high grit sandpaper, like 2000 or so, and it won't take off too much metal. Remember, if you're polishing or sanding something, you are removing metal, and if you get carried away with it, you're going to affect the tolerances. You're going to basically make it sloppier if you take off too much metal. We just want to do a cleaning process here. I'm looking for my bottle brush type of thing, but I don't know where I've got it hiding. It's hiding somewhere. But that's what I'm going to use in the Bible to run that through, to clear that out a little bit. You can also take a thick rag and thread it through, just pull it through back and forth, and that can also help clean it. Hello everyone. So I've changed the vinegar in this bath here, and I've added that invader that I did for Stock Walk Sunday because I was so frustrated. But you can see how shiny the invader is, as opposed to, now see how that's turning brown and a little bit more golden, a little bit less shiny and everything. That's what I want my lock to look like. I don't want it to be so gaudy, And I can try later on with the vinegar and salt type of where you just use the vapors to even make it darker brown. But for right now, this is pretty good, and you can see the holes for the pins are much better now. It stands out. But yeah, this is just really too shiny and too gaudy. I mean, it's jeweler's rouge on a buffing wheel, and come on, man, unless that's gonna be something you want shiny, I don't know. It's individual taste, and that's just not my cup of tea for a lock. It's just a little too shiny. I'd rather have something a little duller. So I'm gonna take this out and use a brush on this one again and try to knock that gunk down. And then I don't even think I'm gonna need sandpaper or anything on this. I think that'll clean it enough. But it's just this one area. And the reason why that area is there is because it's all brass except for this metal piece right here, which rusted. The shackle retainer piece in there. So I'm going to put him back in and shine this one up. Right, so I've got my brush here. Let me turn this little light on. More light. And I've got this. And I'm just, like I said, going with the grain. Just trying to knock that scale off as much as I can. And may have to get in there with a pick or a probe or something to get it completely off. Kind of like polishing, shining a shoe with a shoe brush. I just go back and forth. All this, like I said, is pretty good. There's nothing really on there. You usually don't want to go up and down like this, especially if your rotational force is this way. You want any scratches to go along with that so it doesn't hang up and bind. And you don't have to go crazy like I am right now. I'm just trying to get that guy a little bit better. I'll go in there with a little pick or a probe, and try to scrape the scale off. So something else that also comes in handy is this little bronze knife that I've got here. It's got a bronze blade on it. And when you're scraping things, if you get a steel knife, it may be too strong for what you're scraping against. And a bronze knife has a tendency to knock that stuff off when you're dealing with brass without being too overly sharp and strong about it. Less of a chance of gouging, putting gouge marks in there. In this case, I'm just trying to knock this. I've pretty much gotten it clean. This other part here is mostly cosmetic, but some of it is scale from the rusted part of the metal thing dripping down over it over the years. And you can see on the inside of the shackle, this was probably more the universal coating of this lock before Mr. Crazy got a hold of it and thought it was a piece of jewelry and polished the crap out of it. But there's not a lot of wear on it, as far as, like, I've seen other ones where there's actual gouges in the core from the pins dragging on it from the driver pins and stuff, and this one's in pretty good shape. So other than wherever it was probably locked up a lot. But there you go, that's just that part of it. Now see, to me, now you can still kind of, but it's dulled it out a lot more. And it's changed the color from super bright and shiny, like this thing, to a duller finish, which is what I wanted. I mean, and to clean it up also. That's another advantage of the vinegar, of leaving it over there. So that's been about 12 hours of sitting in vinegar. And it's done a pretty good job of removing the jeweler's rouge and all that other crap that was in there, and getting it more to look like the age that it really was. So, that's that part. Alright, so for the inside of the Bible, I just take a piece of sandpaper and wrap around a follower. If you don't have a follower, you can use a screwdriver or something like that. And I just go, like I said, back and forth with it. It's kind of the same rotation that the shackle would use. And it's not going to do a lot of crud removing if you got a lot of crud in there, but it will help smooth out any little burrs. And we've just got a little junk down there that I'm probably going to leave, let it slide. And then you just test it out by trying to put it back in there. It's a tight fit. It's got some pretty tight tolerances in here. Make sure that little, tilt it down this way so that little metal thing's not in the way. And orient it away. There we go. Yeah, it slides much easier in and out, as you can see. So, all I've got to do is reassemble it and oil it. I like the color. Has dulled out a lot more. I took that little knife and got in here and scraped off. I don't know if it was paint or whatever, but it was really obscuring a lot of the detail in here on these. And that's about it for the finishing or refinishing of it. Now, I'm probably going to reassemble it and put the leave it in an open position, because if I do ever manage to get a key, a spare key or something like that, even one that's already been bitted, if it'll just fit this keyway, the warding and everything, then I can just file down key pins or try to make some key pins for it. And eventually I will have a working lock. But unfortunately, this is going to be, it's been picked open and cleaned is basically all I've done for it, you know, but I have not made a working key for it or anything yet. But there you go. It goes in one way, and I'm just being an idiot trying to figure that out right now. But that's about it for the cleaning up and restoring. He got out of his parade, you know, shiny uniform and more into like a battle dress utility, BDU type of stuff, you know. Now he can blend in with the background, and he's not having to go marching up and down the square. Is everybody happy with my little plan of marching up and down the square? Is there anything you'd rather be doing? Marching up and down the square? Alright, so there you go. Thank you for watching, and happy picking, everyone.